things that, we said we were going to do in this 90-day period was hire a VA and launch a new lead gen, and hired the VA. And I don't know. I mean, I think Nick and I just got done with our really short punch list of stuff for a new carpet cleaning niche lead gen. We're going to get that baby punched out there. So start building the backlinks, doing all that other coolio stuff to it. So I don't know. Hopefully, it's going to start turning some revenue, January timeframe, I hope.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. What are we doing, George? 10 locations initially now, and probably another 5 or so by the end of the year.
Yep.
All right. Good times.
10 locations plus 5.
Yeah, we're launching with 10, and then we're going to add 5 at a time.
Nice.
The market for it is pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if there's anybody on the call now who would like us to exclude a market, just drop it in the chat.
For carpet cleaning?
Yeah.
That is not one that we play in.
All right. Just don't want to hurt anybody's feelings.
Yeah, right. So how
more than enough
are you dropping per location?
Say again, Jeff?
How many GMBs per location?
Well, we've got 1 GMB for the national location right now, and then we're starting to do the postcards for the other locations. So we've got all the citations built out for them, and we're trying a couple of different ones. We're trying, the phone a friend for a postcard and a few other ways. So we'll see which method works best for us for nailing these GMBs down.
Right. Right on. Well, cool. Good luck with that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Who else has got wins? Anybody else?
Yeah, man, we collected since last call, so $9K in new money. We've had, like, I think I talked about this last week. We've had some real I guess it was
Okay, sure.
an issue with, like, I was talking to Jen about, it's like this and Patrick, you can probably explain what happened when you kind of started bringing on team members. But since we brought Drew on, it's kind of like it messed up the cadence or the rhythm that I had going, because I had to start focusing on kind of hand-holding him a little bit to get him into his position. And so the sales have declined. We haven't had a lot of money wins lately since bringing him on full time, but we finally got back on track. And now my prospect pipeline is starting to fill back up. And it's just this consistent, like, evolution, and I'm really excited. We're setting goals to hit $1 million agency here in 2023, and I know that we can do it. I'm getting the team members in place. I found out today that we're up to 15 team members that are operating my team on the back end. Actually, I guess I should say 16, including Drew here in the States. So I'm stoked for 2023.
I saw that picture, man. That's a good looking crew you got over there.
Yeah, man. Yeah. They're the ones, they're the brains of all this. Obviously, it's not me.
Man.
Yeah.
That's great. Congratulations.
Thanks, man.
Who else? Anybody else?
Love to hear it, Spencer. That's great. Any other wins, guys? Jeff, we have any wins on our end?
Do we have any wins? Oh man, we're doing a lot of things on the back end. I think the wins are more just in learning and executing rather than bringing in new money or specifically, things like that. It's really getting organized and getting, process in place. So I think that's really where we're winning right now is doing all that.
Yeah. We've kind of been in this spot where we've tried to slow down to retool and build out our processes and better operations, so that we can handle fulfillment better. I think, I think operations are something that really breaks when you start to scale, and we've been dealing with that. Otherwise, your retention is going to go through the floor if you don't have the operations in place. So yeah, we've been super focused on our processes lately, and gearing up for big 2023 on both sides. So a lot of cool stuff coming down the pike for LeadSnap too. All right, so I'm going to let Jeff kind of quarterback this call. I'm going to step out. So in our team, I regularly give our kind of like our project managers and our leadership team opportunities to learn different things. And we ran a contest when was that, Jeff? About like maybe 6 weeks ago or so. We ran a
Yeah, I
contest.
lost track of time. It's just time is like, whew, what a construct. It's like
Yeah.
a couple months, something like that.
Yeah. So anyways, I presented it a list of topics and I said, hey, these are different topics that you guys can pick from. And we're going to have an internal competition. Whoever can present the best on their topic. And I mean, there was probably 1,000 topics to choose from. So everyone chose one. They came with their presentations to the team. So for me, this is trying to get my team to level up. So not only do they go out and learn something new, but they bring it back and teach it to the team. And, you know, teaching something requires a much higher level of understanding than actually doing it yourself. So our entire team, well, our leadership team sat through the presentations. We asked questions. We all got leveled up on the different topics. So Jeff is going to present on what he presented to our team. So you guys, Jeff, I'll let you guys take it away, but I'm going to jump off the call. You guys have an awesome week and create some wins. And Jeff, I'm sure you're going to crush it on this presentation like you did.
Yeah, right on. Well, I did not win the contest, so let me just preface this presentation with that. So I'm not sure if that speaks to how this presentation.
You did get a close
is
second,
going
though. You were a close second.
Well, you know, right. Okay. Close second, I guess. I guess that's good.
It's a tough team, man.
It's a tough
Yeah.
team for sure.
All right, guys. You guys have a great week, and I will see you all soon. Thanks. Adios.
All right. Thanks, Patrick. All right, you guys, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Hopefully you guys are seeing a black slide that says breakthrough advertising. You guys see that?
Yeah, we got it, buddy.
Cool. All right. Well, breakthrough advertising is a really interesting book. And the reason I chose to present on this for our team is because it came highly recommended from a whole bunch of different people. And, you know, it's about copywriting and how to present your message and things like that. And I just felt like if I was going to go and dig in and learn something that's going to be a really valuable, repeatable skill, that learning copywriting and how to package a message is going to be more valuable than how to do a backlink or something like that over time, right? It's going to be, the payback's going to be bigger. So this book was actually published way back in the day, 1966, and by this guy, Eugene Schwartz, right? And he was well known as a copywriter back then, worked for a bunch of larger companies and helped them bring their products to market and do really well, and became so well known, he wrote this book. It went out of publication for whatever reason. I think he passed away and whatnot. And it became so coveted that by the time the 90s and 2000s rolled around, it was going for like $1,000 on eBay by that time. So somebody, his estate or whoever in 2004 republished it. And so like, you know, I don't know how much you guys pay for books. I've never paid $1,000 for a book. You know, I pay $20 on Amazon, but you know, that kind of told me like there's something to this. And then in doing a little bit of research about it, I saw that, you know, a lot of people in our industry really believe that this book is the go-to lights out single best resource that you can possibly get on marketing and, you know, overall messaging. So I would highly recommend that you dig in. There's no possible way that I could convey in this presentation what all is in this book. It's a pretty amazing psychological kind of you know, perspective to take on where your clients are and their journey. And so I'll try to convey whatever I can. You can get it right now actually in hardcover for $596.09 on Amazon. This is actually the original hardcover that was republished in 2004. But I found another source that if you wanted Titans Marketing, it's breakthroughadvertisingbook.com. I don't know how they have the right to sell it, but it's only $125. So if you want a copy, it'll set you back $125. I don't know them. I don't have a connection to them. I'm not an affiliate. I don't get a commission. Buy at your own risk, but I think that they're a legit source, and they're probably the cheapest that you're going to find this book anywhere today. So if after
Jeff,
this,
is this the actual
otherwise-
paperback, Jeff?
I think this is, I think it might be a hardcover.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know if it was audio they were selling for that price.
Yeah, no, it's actually a book. I think it's a hardcover, but either way, it's worth $125. Let's put it that way. And I wouldn't say that if I didn't believe it.
If you all want to chip in, I'll buy it and read it to each of you during our call.
There we go.
For a group.
So the book kind of starts out with anchoring to desire, and that humans have like desire, and the way to create a mass desire is to have a public spread of a private want or a need. But it's important to understand that no matter what you do, no matter what copy you have, no matter what your messaging or language is, you can't create a desire for a product. But you can take the hopes, dreams, fears, and desires that already exist in millions of people and focus them to focus those already existing desires onto your product. And that's what you want to do. You don't want to kind of reinvent the wheel and try to create a demand. You want to take these desires and aim them at your product. So that's what this book really dives into, is the psychology, the languaging, the structure of your message and how to do that. It's very in-depth, and it's very cool the way they do it. They talk about this thing called the amplification effect, that directing a mass desire instead of needing to create it commands an economic force hundreds of times more powerful than the dollars an advertiser can spend. So but that's basically what they're saying, is that tapping into this desire, you couldn't spend enough money to get that level of demand for a product that you could by just tapping into those desires, right? So the first thing we got to do is kind of like get the orientation of where we're at, and to get this understanding of the desire and how we're going to focus it onto the product itself. So who's your target market is the first thing. You want to identify them, and we do this all the time in lead gen, right? We're going and doing due diligence, and we know that it's a lot easier to rank for specific products that are services rather than something more general. So the more specific we get, even in our GMBs, right? If we're talking about carpet cleaning, we could talk about stain removal, and that would be an even deeper niche that might get us more traction. The riches are in the niches, right? And then once we define the target market, like where are they hanging out? Like what are they doing? Are they online? Are they at the local BNI group? Are they in an association? And then we dive into like, what are they feeling? Like if your target market is like middle-aged men versus elderly women, or landscapers versus like dumpster rental entrepreneurs, right? Like where are they going to be hanging out? And then what are they going to be feeling? So if we're talking about like a 7-figure agency owner who doesn't have enough time to enjoy all the money they've made, well, how does that compare to like someone who's just building their first lead gen site and they don't even have any idea how to spend their time most effectively, right? So those two people are going to feel a completely different way. So when you really start diving in and thinking about your target market and how to niche them out, I mean, this stuff starts becoming a lot more obvious to you rather than just taking this kind of like broad stroke approach. And you can, through this process, start to understand the collective desire of your target market. And then with the goal of determining the sophistication level of that market, because the sophistication level of that market is going to determine how you speak to them in any given moment, whatever stage of sophistication that they're in. So I'll go into a little bit more of that throughout the presentation here. But in that collective desire sense, it's like you want to understand how you're going to move any prospect from point A to point B, and what is that transition that is going to make them take that next step. So desires can be like instincts, like around health, virility, beauty, prestige. These are all like core kind of desires that drive us, and they cause us to have needs. We don't even understand that they're ultimately these deep desires within us, but they're actually, when we see something, we're like, oh, I need that, right? But we don't know why we need that. Why do we need, some product, or why do we need that car? Why do we need something to make us look better or feel better? it's not that we need that product, it's that we have this desire, this underlying desire, and that's what's really driving us. So obviously, like the desire for health causes a need for all kinds of different products and services, you know, to feel good, to feel better. We need, you know, chiropractors and doctors and, you know, all these health different things. And then our desire for prestige causes us to need certain experiences or luxury items and clothes and status symbols and so on. So this kind of like really, really tunes in to the core of who we are. And the prospect, you know, a lot of times doesn't even know that they have the desire. They just think they have a need. They recognize the need immediately, even though they can't identify it. And they don't realize the connection between the fulfillment of that need and your product. So that's ultimately the journey that this book takes you on, is how do you get your target market, your prospect, to understand that your product is going to fulfill that need for them. And so define the market and introduce products that solve those needs. That's how we do it. And the copy that you're going to present to them, or the messaging, it's not even just like, think of this not just in the sense of like copywriting, like you're putting stuff on a web page or in a sales letter, but it's what you're speaking or what you're saying to your prospect. It's like, what is that message? Just think messaging when I say copy. So that's going to depend on the sophistication of the market overall. So the real goal is to understand how sophisticated the market is, because the level of market, the sophistication will determine how you talk to them. So what is the mass desire that determines that motivates your market, and how much does your market know about the problem or your product? This is the state of awareness. Like, what's the state and stage of the awareness that they're in? They may not even know that they have a need, right? Until you call it out. Like, people may not even know that this thing is possible. Like, I didn't know that I needed a trackball mouse until I knew they existed. And then I thought, I need one of those, right? But before I knew it existed, I didn't know that I needed it. And so this is the way the market is driven, and through this constant kind of evolution of the market and the technology and different things like that, like, you know, with computer items and cars, and like even, you know, like I say, the trackball mouse, or like organic tea. Like I was just a tea drinker, and then I didn't know I needed organic tea until I saw it. And then I'm like, okay, well, I need organic tea. So I'm just a base level buyer in that sense. There's some people who want organic tea, and they're going to go and research every company about, you know, how they're doing the organic part of it, and are they in integrity and all of that. Like, I just trust that it says organic on it, it's organic. So I'm a less sophisticated buyer than somebody who's going to go do all that research. So you got to talk to me in a different way than you're talking to that other organic tea buyer that's going to go and call you out if you're not, you know, in integrity. So one question that the book asks that I think is really interesting is like what is the job of the headline? You know, when you have and this is your headline, this is your tagline of your company, your agency, your lead gen customers and clients that are trusting you to pull in their customers for them. Like, what's the job of the headline that you're presenting out in the market? The job of the headline is only to get them to read the next line, and the next line is only job is to get them to read the line after that. So think about it that way, that you're taking them through a journey of getting pulled into your world and getting exposed to your product in a way that's going to educate them to ultimately pull the trigger and pay you money. And again, that works for, you know, our lead gen clients, and also our, you know, the customers that we're trying to pull in for them. So here's an example, like, what's a target market? Entrepreneurs who want to make 7 figures online, right? So that's a really defined, identified target market, and it identifies their collective desire to get rich or go Lambo or whatever it is. But what does this tell us about their level of sophistication? So this is the part where I'm going to walk you through the different levels of sophistication so that you can understand where or how you would talk to each prospect depending on their levels of sophistication. So sophistication level uno, right? They have no awareness, like I was saying. And if you know your market and their desires, but they're not, this is where you know that your market and their desires, but they are not aware of their problem. There's no collective desire to take action. So even if you gave them the most amazing offer on earth, they're not going to pull the trigger. It's going to fall on deaf ears, right? So how do you overcome this level? You give them education. And with the tea example, that's for me, it's like I was educated generally about organic products. And so I saw organic teas and I'm like, okay, well, it looks legit. It's got this little seal on it. I'm educated enough. That sales cycle is really short, right? For me personally, but it might be longer for somebody else. So through education, you can get somebody to move up the levels of sophistication and down the path and towards pulling the trigger on buying your product. So like, for example, if you were going to try to pull somebody into digital marketing, you tell a story about an employee who's sick of their job, who eventually makes millions online, right? For a contractor prospect, you educate them on the missed opportunity of dominating Google search. So you could say, hey, there's this contractor and he has this business and he's not able to generate clients. So he's not able to have the income that he wants. He's not able to provide for his kids in the way that he wants. He's not able to take that vacation that he wants. And ultimately he's not able to live the lifestyle that he wants. So then a contractor might be like, well, shit, I didn't know, like, I'm just running a business, right? Like there's people who actually, overcame that situation, because I feel like I'm in that situation. Like, how would you overcome that? That's where the education process starts, right? And ultimately, like, we as humans are like, we're wired for stories. So that's how you get and hold people's attention, is by telling these stories and having people tune into how the story, relates to them, and how the situation of the story, calls to their own situation in the moment, so that they can identify with that. So you start to educate them. You educate them about the opportunities of, the missed opportunities when you're not dominating in Google search, and other things that you can do for them. And you focus more on the benefits. Don't focus on the details, right? Focus on the fact that if you get more calls, you're going to have more opportunities, you're going to make more money, you're going to grow your business, you're going to live the life of your dreams. This is the story arc that you want to lead them through, right? You don't want to start talking about backlinks and Ahrefs and how to verify a GBP and keywords. Like, don't do that, right? The first rule, in sales, don't focus on yourself, focus on the prospect. Don't focus on all that stuff that you feel is important. Like, focus on their own situation. And again, educating them through the process. So we get to past that unaware stage, and we get to the level 2 sophistication, where they're problem aware. They acknowledge they have a problem, but they're overwhelmed with maybe potential solutions, or they don't have the education about how to solve it. So they're unclear about solving it. They are unclear about how to solve it. So they have the desire, but they don't have any understanding of what action to take next. So how do you overcome this? It's all about education. It's more education, right? You can start talking about simple things that they can do right now to change their situation. So if we're talking to potential lead gen clients, we can start educating them about like how these things work and how you get more prominent in Google without going into too much of the detail. Start talking about the photos, start talking about reviews, on-site, off-site, these different things, but without getting them stuck in the weeds, right? Give them an overall picture so that they can start to understand that this is more complex than they want to take on. And if you're lucky, you can focus, or you can start to tune into like a force of change. This is like I was saying, where everything is always, up leveling in the technology world, or, with appliance, like everything around you is constantly being innovated on and evolving. So you can, this education is important. And if you can catch a rising tide, like there's an example in the book where they talk about back in the 60s and 70s, where families had one car, right? And then they got a little bit more, higher standard of living, and they got a little bit more money, they had more buying power. So they bought 2 cars, right? And then that kind of played out, and that cycle kind of played out. And then car manufacturers, like, they're tuning into this. They're like, okay, we have 1 car families, and now we've grown them to 2 car families. Now what do? We'll make more powerful cars. We'll make more luxurious cars. We'll make more, make them more expensive so that they're continuing to seed the market with opportunities for people to spend their money with them. So they're looking at this on a macro level, right? So there's a certain point in the process in this kind of trajectory of change where it gets played out a little bit. And at some point, people were like, man, I have 2 great cars in the driveway. I've got some money in my pocket. Like, what do I do next? In the 70s, what would everybody do? Swimming pools, right? Everybody bought swimming pools. So that's kind of the idea of tuning into where the market is in any given moment. And you can speak to people, you can get that copy on your website in the right messaging if you have your target audience identified, so that you can tap into that mass desire. So where are we now? Where have we gone? Well, higher quality upgrades in homes and the materials, fancier cars, gadgets, doodads of all kinds, right? And that is like, if you think about in the 70s, everybody had wallpaper, right? Like nobody wants wallpaper in their house. Like who gets wallpaper? Like nobody gets wallpaper, right? I grew up in a house with wallpaper, but now it's like it went from wallpaper to strip that off and do some fancy paint. And now it's like you have stonework, and like it just the market continues to evolve as people's tastes become more sophisticated. So that's the point that you want to tune into. And it's, people think, oh, I need that because it looks nice, but what is that deep desire like? Ultimately, it can be a lot of different things. And if, in the book, it kind of talks about if you can merge desires together and tap into multiple desires at any given time, then your message is going to be even more powerful, or your product as a solution is going to be even more powerful. So it's like they have this nice house or they have this bigger car to show off to their neighbors. They're thinking, well, I need the heated seats because it gets chilly in the winter or whatever. No, they want the prestige. They want to drive up into the driveway and they want their neighbors to notice that they have that baller Mercedes or whatever. And it could be, from a home standpoint, they want to entertain their families in a more luxurious environment. It increases the resale value of their home. Or, it could be more basic than that, the desire. If you think about, if you have a towing site, for example, it's like the mass desire around getting their car towed is that they want safety and freedom, right? They want the safety of getting off of the highway where it's dangerous, and they want to get back to the freedom of getting behind the wheel and driving where they want to go. So if you think about these things on this base level, then you can tap into the desire of your market way better and create the copy that's going to take them down the journey. So, for like, if you have like landscaping, for example, what would be a good message? It's like, if you think about what's the desire of the consumer, is it just they want their yard mowed? Maybe, but they also might want to have a nice place to throw the ball around with their kid, right? That's a bigger desire. They see a nice, white picket fence home, and that's what they want. I met a guy at a conference recently who does landscaping, and he's taking it to a different level where he's providing an opportunity for landscapers to come in and actually help create a design through some portal that he has, some SaaS portal that he has, and it gives them a better opportunity to come in and say, I'm not just going to mow your grass, like I'm going to create an environment for you. Yeah, that's exactly what the kind of thing that I'm talking about here is, like tuning into where people are at and dialing it up, because there's more money to be made there. So for agencies and, lead gen entrepreneurs like us, like what is it that we want? What do we want? We want more clients. We want higher profit margins. We want to avoid working 9 to 5. We want to go to Mexico on vacation. Like these are our desires, right? And in the same way that we have these desires, these other markets or these other, market segments have their own desires. So the sophistication level goes up to number 3. And you have solution awareness. Your market is actively educating themselves on solutions. So they have the desire, right? They're taking action to find the solutions. So what do you do next? You promote your solution, right? And you can tap into the market at any phase, like segment 1 and 2 or sophistication level 1 and 2. You may not ever want to even talk to anybody who's at that level. You may not want to do that level of education. I don't. but some people do, right? So it's also, once you understand this, then you can find people where they're at. If you find people who are already at level 3 and actively looking for a solution, then you start promoting your solution, great. But you can't skip a level. You can't take somebody from level 1 to level 5, for example. They have to personally go through the different levels. So you promote your solution as not only a good fit, but the best fit. For example, like we help X niche contractors dominate Google doing X, Y, and Z. That's what we do. And you can give testimonials. You can show them other people in your community who you've helped. Here's how we do it. Let's jump on a call and see if we're a good fit. In this book, they recommend don't push the brand, the product, or the price when somebody's at this level. What you want to do is you want to educate them about who you are and that you're trustworthy and credible. But it's not about you. It's not about, well, my brand is plant-powered marketing or whatever. It's not about my product. Like, look at this fancy, package that I have to, of all these services. It's not about your price. It's just about getting them to recognize you as the go-to person that they want to solve this problem for them, or to give them the solution that they're looking for. Right. So you tap into using hopes, dreams, emotions to deliver the message that motivates the purchase of the product. And you can do this by tapping into like the urgency of their situation, the intensity of the situation, to understand the degree of their desire. So you see how like the psychology of this gets really in depth. And that's what's fascinating about it to me. And, again, kind of like once you start to identify, even if you're just doing this at a very basic level of understanding, like I'm talking about right now, it's like I'm not very skilled at this, but I can see it. And once I got tuned into it, it's like I can see it all around me, and I understand my market better now. So if you appeal to people in the sense of like their desire to have more time, more money, better relationships, make a better impact, like these are you start mixing those together, and you can see in the conversations when you're trying to take people down a path and close them, you can see, well, what are they honing in on? And if you understand a little bit about why they're honing into that, then you have a much better message to send them to close the deal. That's what I'm finding. So,
Hey, Jeff, do you think that you'll create like a cheat sheet for yourself, kind of putting these people, like solution awareness people, into a category, and then just kind of like cliff notes on how to like close them, or hey, don't mention this, so that like you can like maybe post it on your wall, so that when you're on these sales calls, you kind of know how to pivot. You're kind of deciphering who these people are, how their brain's working, so that you can finish setting up the close.
Man, I'd love to have something like that. And I think that's, that would be advanced level stuff, right? That I'm at breakthrough advertising 101 over here. That's a graduate level class. But I feel like, I was going to say this at some point, is that I feel like what I've learned from this book already is something that will affect the way that I approach marketing for the rest of my life. Like it's like that profound, it really does break it down so well, and give you these insights and perspectives into how to approach a market, that maybe we can create that together, Spencer. I think that would be an amazing resource that we could have, not only for ourselves, but to potentially share with others. So, what I was getting at really is like tuning into like, what is their overwhelming desire at the moment? And you can only have that through conversations, right? And education. And, I've been a victim of, the show up and throw up model, where you just pitch, super hardcore. That's the way I was when I first started sales. And I was still successful because I was running numbers, right? It was a numbers game. But now I don't like the numbers game anymore. I like to close as many people as I can, right? So I've completely retooled the way that I think about sales, the conversations that I have, et cetera. So, using copy, so to speak, to acknowledge their desire and to reinforce the desire so that you can overcome it. I mean, I hope you guys are getting what I'm saying. Like, just understanding that desire gives you a massive advantage in the conversation when you're having a sales conversation with anybody. And here's what the bigger picture is, that really, remember I said the prospect doesn't realize the connection between the fulfillment of their need to your product. This is how you take them there. You help them write the story of their life with your product at the center as a solution to their needs, right? So help them write that story, become the partner in that story for them and with them. And you have such a massive advantage when you think about it from this perspective, because almost no one else is taking the time to present their product this way or their service this way, number one. And, number two, no one is going to take the time to create that level of relationship that's going to tune your prospect into you so well that they're going to be like, I'm buying from Spencer, I'm buying from whoever. So sophistication level 4, brand awareness. Your market has the education and information they need to make a decision to purchase, but they have to decide between you and your competition. So what do? Again, give them confidence. This is sort of like level 3, where you want to give them some testimonials. You want to give them the proof that you are going to follow through. All this goes back to trust and credibility ultimately, but you're also tuning into what their needs are and what their limitations are, what their questions are, their objections are, and presenting having the confidence ultimately, and having the integrity of your solution that you can be the credible and authority, have the credibility and authority in the market, and the authority to make the offer, to lead them into the deal, which is basically level 5, where the product and price awareness, your market has everything they need to make a purchase, and they're ready to buy. You have them in a conversation. Do they understand what to do next? All right, if they're ready to purchase, then how do you get them there, right? You lead them through the deal step by step. Here's what you're going to expect from me, and here's what I need from you. So for example, you're like, here in the next 3 days, you're going to hear from my customer support person. He's going to ask you for some answers to some questions. We do a questionnaire, and in 7 days, we're going to have your mock website up. I'm going to show that to you. I'm going to ask you for some feedback. I'm going to ask you for some photos. I'm going to get your GMB, like walk them down that path of what it looks like, because they may not have ever done business with anybody like you, or a digital marketer, for example, but they probably didn't do business with a digital marketer who walked them through the steps of what they're going to do, right? So you're solidifying the relationship. You're telling them in real time, like, this is what you can expect from me. And what do I need from you? I need photos. I need the questionnaire filled out. And ultimately, I need your credit card, right? So that's how you close the deal. And again, making it about them, like sales 101, make it about them, not you. Assume that they know nothing about taking this journey with you. And again, don't skip the levels of sophistication. And then, so that's sort of the levels of sophistication. And that was a lot for me. And again, it's like, it's going to take a long time for me to implement this in a way that I'm going to be able to tune into it the way like Spencer's saying, and have it so dialed in. For me, it's just recognizing things in the moment. But yeah, starting to take notes on those things, organize my thoughts, coordinate those thoughts, because ultimately, when we look at, our client base in lead gen in the contractor world, there's probably going to be, 3 to 5 core, identifiable desires that all of them are going to be dealing with, right? And so that's a way that we can hone in and have these sort of lights out, conversations, answers or whatever. I know salespeople in the coaching world who have had something like that and dialed it into where it wasn't necessarily like honing into the desire, but it was like every objection had a response. And it's like, okay, well, if they say this is the way we overcome that objective. We say this, so that stuff can be super valuable. And ultimately the primary job of a copywriter. In this sense, I'm kind of like talking about you're the copywriter, you're the salesperson, right? Because you're the one who's giving them the message. It's to know your market. Like, we end where we started is, knowing your market is really the lights out kind of approach here. So what makes, a couple of final thoughts, what makes people read, want, and believe? Again, tapping into those mechanisms of desire that can be, those physical desires, material desires, sensual desires. Like it can really be any of that. And the more that you become aware of it, and the more that you can, determine where your prospect is at, and the level of in whatever level of sophistication, and where their desire is coming from, then the better chance you're going to have of actually closing a deal. So that's what I have for breakthrough advertising. Highly recommend this book. You can, ask questions about it, or put comments in the comments below and all that kind of stuff. But I would highly recommend that you go get it and see for yourself, because it's definitely been a mind-bending exploration for me. So that's what it is. Questions? Nick, what you got, buddy?
All right, I'm off you. Jeff, you and I have been around a couple of years in some of the same groups. This is the first time I think anyone's presented anything relating to sales at all within the first few years that I've been in these groups. So really nice job. And these are milestones. This is great. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you, Nick. I appreciate the feedback. That's awesome.
Very good.
Hey, Jeff, I think I'm going to try it out, but it looks like there are ebook versions of that book available for significantly less than the hard copy. So I'm going to try downloading one on Kindle to see if it's the deal, or if it's just like a summary or something else. So.
Right. Yeah, there are those things floating around. I don't want to get myself in any kind of copyright mess, but if you search on the internet, you may or may not be able to find a PDF.
Well, I'm hoping that Barnes and Noble's got like a Nook version, or Amazon's got a Kindle version. So I would only buy it from somebody legit, because I don't want the copyright police showing up at my house.
Well, you notice how none of us know this existed, and Jeff created the market and the awareness. Now we're all, hey, we'll spend a couple $100, no problem. Just did it.
I should have got that affiliate deal in place with Titan.
Yeah, there you go.
This presentation. Yeah, no, it's exactly like that, Nick. And I think, that's what we kind of honed in on here, is that, man, just being aware of that market trajectory, it's fascinating. Once you become aware of it, it's everywhere. It's all around you, and it gives you so much better insight into how to present a message, or, create a message that's going to speak to the audience that you want to motivate to purchase. It's great.
Jeff, do you think do you think that as you kind of learn these buckets, we'll just say, of the buyers, that there'll be like kind of these things that are going to stand out, to where you'll be able to get on a phone call, maybe be able to ask the prospect a few different questions, kind of figure out the bucket that they belong in, and then be able to refer back to your cheat notes to kind of massage it?
For sure. Yeah, like I'm saying, the salespeople that I know and coaching who have that, it's like they're getting on calls. Think of the confidence that this gives you. I mean, you're already a confident salesperson as you right now, Spencer. But if you have, that there's 3 to 5 things that these contractors are going to tap into, and this is the way it goes. And category number 1, there's going to be these concerns and these objections, and you already have it dialed in of how you're going to respond to each one of those things. It's like, where does your confidence go? Through the roof. And when your confidence goes through the roof, you close a much higher rate, because that's what people hear and feel that through the conversation. So I really like that idea. I hadn't thought about that in a while, and thinking back to those people that were doing it before, I just haven't done it that way, because I haven't been on a strict sales schedule lately. But I think, building a team and having a resource like that would be amazing. So, I mean, I'd be happy to work with you on that and try to create that together, you know, as we move forward here.
First, I'd have to read the book, and then we can work on the project together. So, no, I just think like in general, having like just one sheet per like
Yeah.
bucket would be amazing, just to kind of
Yeah.
have.
Hey, maybe we can create something like that for the accountability groups that we're in. Take, 10 minutes each Friday and put something together. I've got an idea for it. Jeff, I want to know whose presentation won. Yours didn't?
Yeah, right. Well, I modified it a little bit, but it was the caveat there was that it was the presentation was going to be supposed to be something that was graded on what's going to have the most impact on the agency in the shortest amount of time. So I kind of got edged out because that was really the ask. And this is a more longer term kind of a play, you know? So
This is a great investment.
yeah. No,
So Jeff, I guess the one that won was, wrestle the client to the ground, hold a gun to their head until they cough up the money.
It wasn't sales, it was more back end stuff.
I have my backlinks or something.
Yeah. They don't realize that sales is the most important thing, and they didn't realize that.
That's it. Once you get the money, fulfillment's a technical thing. Forget that.
Yeah, that's what I always say anyway. Yeah, no, it's true. But yeah, that's the way that went down. But it was close, and the way it was graded is what it is. I mean, the other person had an amazing presentation and amazing information. So no ill will there. It's all good.
I'm glad we saw this one.
Yeah, cool. Well, I'm glad you guys enjoyed it. It definitely helps me too to review the information again and just kind of tune into like why do I feel that this information is so important? Why do I feel like it's so valuable? And if you start poking around, you'll find that a lot of other marketers, they believe the same thing I do. So that's what really sealed the deal for me, was just hearing how so many people in our industry believe that if you're going to have one marketing book, this is the book to have. The book also has a ton of examples from like the 60s where copy, they have copy where, actual copy where the headlines are what they are, and they have the specific examples of how people are in a specific mindset about a specific product and how they're speaking to them through the headline and then through the copy. Because back then we didn't have computers or any of that kind of stuff. It was all newspaper driven, right? So it was all written, and to kind of tune into the way the stories are set up, the structure of the stories, the way that they tweak that desire in real time through the message that they're delivering to intensify the desire so much that it makes the person go over the other side to the other side and actually buy. It's so fascinating. I mean, this guy was tuned in to people's psyche in that way. It's really amazing.
So Jeff, is this newspaper thing a new offering from Apple or something? I don't know if I've seen a newspaper around before.
What do you mean? Oh,
Never
you're
mind.
making it.
I mean, who reads print anymore? I mean,
Yeah, no, nobody reads it. Nobody reads it. But that's the thing, is that we're going back. That's another beautiful thing about the book, is that we're going back to the core of where people's story was, right? And it's like back then you had a couple of newspapers per city, right? So you can kind of compartmentalize how people's brains worked and the psychology around buying. Now in the internet, it's like you can't see head for tails or whatever, right? You're just getting bombarded constantly. So how can you identify these things that we went through tonight in this presentation? There's too much noise, right? Back then it was a lot more like, here's the deal, right? And you can tap into those desires in real time. You can write a 3-paragraph, advertisement and copy that's going to take people through that journey and get them to that next level of sophistication. And now with people like us, we're trying to sell, and it's like, well, shit, I had 10 people a day calling from Home Advisor or whatever. It's like, how do I compete with these people? All these messages in the market. It's like, you should do Google ads, you should do lead gen, you should do this, Facebook or whatever, it's like, it's just so overwhelming now, but you get back to the core of it and those desires are still the same, right? So that's how you can use something that's more basic, bring it into today's world and make it work. That's the way I see it.
Yep, absolutely. And it only took me 10 minutes this week to explain to my new VA what the origin above the fold was when I was talking about real estate on a web page.
Only 10 minutes.
Only 10 minutes.
Should have built a presentation.
We're going back to wallpaper, it sounds like. I'm glad to sell wallpaper.
Yeah, right. Anybody else have anything they want to add here?
Hey, by the way, the wallpapers are in, by the way. This is Janeri here. Hey, Jeff.
You got a wallpaper, Jen?
Wallpapers are in.
Yep.
It's
I
just
got
a little more
wallpaper
modern.
DVD.
It's a little bit different nowadays.
Yeah, right.
Hey,
Yeah.
George
So,
and I
Janeri,
stumbled upon
no cabbage
something
roses?
technical. Has anyone seen, George and I seen it for the first time this week? Google ads in the map pack. So now there's a fourth map pack, but it's an ad. Have you seen that? Anyone?
I've seen that before, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anyone know what those run compared to a normal ad?
Hmm. I
They
don't-
seem pretty effective.
Oh,
Because I think a lot of consumers don't even know it's an ad and
click.
just click the top map. No feedback.
I think consumers still know it's an ad, but I did talk to a pressure washer today in Baton Rouge. He pays for Google Ads he said they're running about $3,000. They're pushing $3,000 a month. I don't know if that's solely just for that ad within the map pack, so being on top of the map pack, but we specifically talked how to organically get him there instead of him paying for it. So, but I've seen him previously to today.
Michael's asking about the ads that you guys are talking about. There's the 3-pack, but then there's an ad
Right.
on top of the 3-pack, Michael. So that's what we're talking about. I don't see it often, but I've seen it.
Yeah, I've seen it in some cities. And from my understanding, the validation process to get that is more difficult than normal Google Ads or the map pack. So if you don't have paperwork, it's my understanding it's going to be difficult to get that. Like you're going to need like, the incorporation or, trademark, or you're going to need some paperwork to get that. My understanding, I usually try to avoid cities that have those. Like if I see that, that's usually, I don't want this, because that service ads, they're going to take a lot of the traffic. They're going to take 20 or 30% of the traffic on the page. So I usually skip that city if I see that.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think there's plenty of opportunities, logistically to move into markets. I mean, markets are growing, exponentially. There's so many areas to go into. Is like you don't need to go into a major city. There's so many suburbs that are just blowing up. There's so much
I usually see those service ads in the bigger cities in a bigger niche like Boston.
Niche, yeah.
In the small cities, I haven't seen it that I've recently.
Yeah, there's still a Wild West out there. There's a lot of money to be made in the burbs.
I think we saw it in Houston, so that kind of tracks it being a huge metropolitan area with high density population.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, go to Conroe, something like that. Still money. All right, y'all. Well, thanks a lot for listening. I appreciate the feedback. I enjoyed presenting this to you, and I hope that you got value and benefit out of it. I hope that you find a copy of this and that you actually read it and implement it, or just have a basic understanding of it, because like I say, I mean, I can tune into it now, and I think that'll be sort of like a muscle that I'll build over time, that I'll strengthen over time, that will allow me to understand, whoever my market is, even if I'm just trying to sell somebody on, doing something simple like the person at the DMV to approve my title or something like that. It's like, what do they want? What is their desire? How can I get people to where that I want them to be? So it's interesting, and there's a lot to learn. Like I say, it's a deep psychological kind of an exploration. Anyway, thanks a lot. Have a great week. Go get some wins, and we will see you guys on the next one. Peace.